Good morning, traders. So, still using the Bill Williams, and how do we apply this to the Dow Jones today? Now, I'm starting off with a weekly, purely to show you something. We have a weekly trend line that we have gapped below today, and we are just hovering below it at the moment. Now, the big thing that really bugs me at the moment is this confusion. Okay, big up, big down, big up. I mean, look at that volatility the last 3 weeks. Well, longer than the last 3 weeks, but anyway, volatility is massive at the moment. So it's very difficult to ascertain that you've got buyers stepping in, or whether these are actually sellers that are going to drive it down. The key element here is obviously this trend line, but more importantly is going to be the breakouts below my inside tails. So that is my inside tail there. It's a fractal level, which is pretty important, and a break below that is going to be fairly bearish for the Dow Jones. Now, I don't know what to read into these three bars here. So to me, this is a piercing pattern, this weekly bar here. This is a very strong bearish signal. But again, this was a pretty strong bullish signal. So I think I'll just reserve judgment on that for now. Let's get to the daily. And you can see we had a daily pin bar. We broke above the pin bar. Now we're back below this pin bar. So that pin bar is null and void at the moment. And also a reason why you're always looking for confirmation. So you were looking for a green bar. The next day it needed to be a green close above the pin bar, which would have given you an entry. But anyway, there's no entry here. So this could be seen as a bottom of range. Okay. So just bear that in mind. I'm just picking up this tail here. So this could be seen as bottom of range. And that is probably the way that I would be looking to trade this today, is bottom of range, looking for a move back to the upside. Okay, if we look at the 4 hour, you can see we may have a double bottom here, and we're going to look at this on the Bollinger as well, just to ascertain whether this is a double bottom or not. But the 4 hour looks like this could be a double bottom brewing. Okay, we have gap down. We trending quite far down as well. So nothing really else to look into on any other time frames. This was a break below the alligator. You can see the alligator was sleeping, and then it was a break below it, and then we accelerated to the downside. Okay, and again, I mean, you can see how the 200 EMA was your entry point for a short. Now price gets there, take the stab at it, put in like a 40-point stop loss, 40, 50-point stop loss, and see how it goes. And I think if we just do this, look to the left here, you can see there's a whole lot of congestion here. Lines up with a 200, come down to a 12-minute, and you can see there inside bar off a level. And even if you come down to the 5-minute, you would have seen a signal there as well. So there you can see how we rallied. Bit of sideways, boom, exhaustion bar, just short of the level. Then we hit the level and we start coming off. Okay. So, I mean, that would have been a fairly decent 800 odd point trade on the Dow. Anyway, let's get back to the 30-minute. What are we expecting today? There are a couple of things at play here. And the first one is we do have a bit of a break out of this channel. Okay, so there's our channel. We have gone sideways off the channel, and but it is a break. Okay, so there's a couple of things that I would expect here, and bearing in mind that we are at a fairly significant level. Okay, so in other words, the levels that we're at here are pretty significant, to say the least. So my bias right now is to be looking for a long entry. That is my bias right now. But looking at the alligator, the trend is still down. So you should, if you are short, you should still be staying short. I think what I want to do quickly is let's just have a quick look at the Bollinger Bands, and I want to get to the 4 hour. Okay, so what I was kind of hoping is that this was still inside the Bollinger Bands. It's not. Average true range is grouping to the upside. A bit of divergence here, so nothing really to read into that on the Bollinger. And on the daily, it is a range. Okay. And I think the other thing we need to have a quick look at is the ichimoku. The daily, there's nothing. Everything is flat. The 4 hour is flat as well. 1 hour, we do have big diversions, potential C clamp here. And what I mean by a C clamp is this is flat, and what you want to see is this Tekinson start rounding up and start running to the upside to cross over. Something like this. But then you want it to continue. Okay, so everything is bearish at the moment on the ichimoku, so there's no real clear signals there. So for me, it's a wait and see day. I don't see enough support here. Let's get back here. There's a lot of congestion. See, there's been a lot of buying and selling here. There's a consolidation range that we're back in. So, you could pick up any one of these inside tails for an area. So that's when I start going a little bit higher. Okay, so there is the most logical one. Is this one here. Lines up with a low there. There's nothing else here. And if we just look at the weekly, nothing on the weekly. Okay, so okay, well, if I look at this, the way that I would be playing this today is trying not to bottom pick, because this could still squirt down. But this level here is a logical, and it's a round number. So 24,000 is an area that I'll be looking to get in long. Keep a really tight stop, and see what happens from there. So I am still anticipating some form of a Christmas rally. I know the politicians aren't playing with it at the moment, but that's kind of just my view at the moment. So I strongly suspect we're going to get something out of it. It may not be much, but the retailers are going to start reporting sales numbers shortly, which will drive the market, even if it is just for a short while. So for me today, I'm very confused with this at the moment. So I think key is to wait for European Open. I'm not even going to suggest trading any of these fractal breaks at the moment. So even if it does break this fractal here to the upside, that is not a valid long signal. We are below the alligator. Okay, we're below the teeth on that break. So that's not a valid signal. A valid signal to the downside would be a break of this fractal. But I would actually like to see a little bit more of a rally, even a gap close. So, come up to close the gap here. And either the bottom of this bar or the top of the bar. But that's kind of what I would expect us to do. So come back, close the opening gap, and then we get back in short. And we're looking for this level here to be tagged, 2400. Okay, that's kind of my view. And then I would be looking, I'd seriously look at a long at 2400 with a fairly tight stop loss. Okay, so quick summary, trend is still down. We may be heading for a double bottom here. there's nothing really concrete just yet. If I look at the oscillators, yeah, don't really have much divergence, a little bit of divergence, but nothing serious. So yeah, that's kind of my view for today. Trend is still down, so if you are going long, be wary. It could just be a short scalp, or it could be a bottom. Okay, now I know that is probably bottom picking, which is not the right thing to do. But in my opinion, right now, if I can bounce off a level of like 2400 and just carry a 40-point stop loss, it's worth putting a small position in to take the chance. If you get stopped out, you get stopped out, but it's no major risk. But if it is the right position to get in, then makes it even better. Okay, then the last thing that I'd be watching for, and this I would do on the 12, 15, or 30 minutes. Okay, look for wise man number one. This pin bar here was a wise man number one. Okay, deviation from the alligator. So that was my first entry. 1, 2, 3. Wise man number two would be the third green bar, a break above there, which you got. Okay, and then wise man number three would have been a break above this fractional. Okay, didn't carry through, but it did. It was definitely a wise man. There's another wise man entry there. So that's what I would actually be waiting for. And don't play it off before the market opens. Okay, so wait for the European market to open at least before giving you a wise man number one. And looking at the 12, you can see we may actually be getting a grouping for a move to the upside, although the oscillators are starting to get a bit tired. Okay, so summary is wait for the European Open, have a look what's happening there. That's around 10 o'clock South African time, and then take your trade based on that. If you do see a wise man number one during the Europe, it's worth taking. So in other words, a pin bar, anywhere where buyers are stepping in and there's deviation from the alligator. At this stage, there's no deviation from the alligator. We are running at the alligator, and the alligator is looking to flatten out a bit. So that could also happen. So it could do this. Okay. Anyway, guys, short summary for me at the moment is I'm probably not going to trade this Monday. None of the charts are actually looking like anything I want to trade. So if you are going to trade it, just be careful. Keep your stops tight. I think for me, I'll just take a long weekend. Be a lot less stress as well. Anyway, guys, I hope that helps today, and I'll catch up with you guys later. Just pay attention to those levels. I really think 2400 is going to be a fairly good entry for an entry long. Okay, so catch up with you later. Cheers for now.